Hello, I'm James Wells, Education Manager at Crayola. Welcome to Crayola's Art of Learning program. Art helps children learn about all sorts of topics. Today, we're joined by our friends at OceanX. Scientists on board their ship are going to talk to kids about the Red Sea and the aquatic life that calls it home. Then I will demonstrate how to create artwork inspired by the underwater landscape. So grab some art supplies and get ready for an inspiring conversation and hands-on learning session. Today's scientists are joining us from an OceanX ship, the Ocean Explorer, that is currently on mission in the Red Sea. Until recently, much of the Red Sea has been unexplored. Can you imagine the various forms of sea life and new discoveries that have yet to be revealed to the world? The scientists that will be sharing insights and discoveries today come from a variety of backgrounds. We're excited to have them share their expertise with us. But first, let's hear from what led them to the Red Sea.
Hello everyone, happy World Ocean Day. I am Captain Roger and I would like to welcome you on board the Ocean Explorer. As the captain, I am responsible for everything and everyone on board. And I make sure everything happens on time, that everything is working properly, and that everyone has what they need for a successful mission. And now I would like to introduce you to Matty, our Head of Science Operations, so you can learn more about what we are doing on this mission.
Hi everybody, I'm Matty Rodrigue, the Head of Science Operations here on board Ocean Explorer, and we are coming to you from the Red Sea. OceanX is currently underway on a mission of exploration and discovery in the Red Sea, which is a super unique environment filled with tons of amazing life. They have species that can live in really, really warm water, super warm and salty, probably one of the saltiest bodies of water on the planet, really warm like bathtub style water, and survive in these really extreme and unique conditions. There's species of coral here that are more beautiful than anything I've ever seen, that can live all the way in the shallow when it's really, really warm, and then all the way down deep where it's still really, really warm and the pressure is very high. There are species of large animals here like dugong, whale sharks, species of whale that we're observing from our helicopter, species of birds, and all kinds of different fish, sharks, and manta rays. The tools that we're using on Ocean Explorer help us understand these really unique environments because we want to study them, we want to explore what we haven't seen before, been able to characterize in the Red Sea before, and we want to protect those areas. So we're working with partners here in order to do that. On board Ocean Explorer, we have amazing tools to make unique discoveries. We can go all the way to the bottom of the Red Sea with our remotely operated vehicle, which is an underwater robot that helps us film, collect samples, and look at all kinds of unique and extreme environments, like brine pools, which can reach over 150 degrees Fahrenheit, but host really unique species of tiny, tiny bacteria and things called microbes. We can also use our submersibles to go down to 1,000 meters, so 3,000 feet, and these can take passengers, scientists, media, everybody that wants to be right there, right in the moment, looking at these amazing environments, and they can actually make discoveries in real time with those submersibles, collect samples, and bring everything back up to the surface, where we look at everything in the 3 lab facilities that we have on board Ocean Explorer. We can look at things under microscopes, we can look at their genetic sequence and their makeup of who they are and what makes them unique. We can understand if they're new species that we've never seen before ever, all right here on board the ship. We also have a helicopter on board, which allows us to look up in the sky and all over the Red Sea and cover lots and lots of area so we can see if there are big animals like whales and whale sharks, oceanic manta rays, dugong species, all species that are here in the Red Sea being observed for the first time. So we're really, really excited to be here. We're really excited to contribute to better understanding of the area, better protection of the area, and we always want to use as much curiosity and creativity as we can. We're really lucky to be able to do that with all the amazing tools that we have on Ocean Explorer, and we're really happy to share that with you today.
Thank you for sharing those insights about what inspired the voyage to the Red Sea mission. While getting ready for this event, we asked curious and creative students from around the world to submit questions that will be answered by the amazing scientists on board the Ocean Explorer. Let's hear their questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I am doing coral research here on the Ocean Explorer, and I am super excited to answer all your questions about corals today. So from Reagan P, we have a question about how coral reefs help fishes. Now, coral reefs help fishes in lots of different ways. They provide food for them and also homes for them as well. In the little nooks and crannies of the coral reefs, the little fish can find safety, and this helps them stay safe and grow into big fish as well. So from Aidan, we have a question: how many animals live on the coral reef? Now, this is a really good question. You might remember coral reefs as also being known as rainforests of the sea. Even though they take up a really small amount of the ocean, they are home to over 1/4 of all marine life. Now, this means that up to 1 million species around the world live in coral reefs. This includes the corals themselves because they are animals, the little microbes and bacteria around the coral reefs, the fish that live there, and also the big animals that might come and visit as well. Now, the last question I have is from Jaden, and they ask, does the colour of the coral reefs change depending on the colour of the sea? Now, this is a really good question. So the colour of the coral reef doesn't change depending on the colour of the sea, but it does depend on how we see it with our eyes. So light is made up of all the colours of the rainbow, and the ocean acts like a sunlight filter. So the deeper down in the ocean we go, the less red light we see in the ocean. So the further down we go, the deeper and darker and bluer the ocean gets, the bluer the coral reefs appear. Now, they're not actually changing colour, it's just how we see them. And if we were to take a coral from the deepest part of the ocean up to the surface again, it would appear red. Now, coral reefs actually do change depending on how hot the ocean is. So corals have tiny plants inside them which give the corals their colour. Now, if the ocean gets a bit too hot, the corals can get a bit stressed. And as like a multicoloured sunscreen, the corals will fluoresce, so they may appear more bright yellow or bright purple as well.
Hi, my name is Mazen and I study plankton, tiny microscopic organisms that live in the ocean and produce oxygen. And today we're going to answer some of your questions about the ocean. A question from Marissa. She wants to know why the Red Sea turns red. Well, actually, the Red Sea is blue, but occasionally in spring there is a plankton called cyanobacteria that produces a red pigment when it dies. And this is why the Red Sea appears red, and we can't even see it from space. Next question from Knox. How deep does the sea go? Well, the deepest point in the ocean is called the Challenger Deep, which is 36,000 feet, which equals to 7 miles. However, the Red Sea is 8,200 feet. That's equal to 1.5 miles. That is a relatively shallow. Last question. Jason wants to know, does the ocean change colors by zone? Well, yes. Colors actually come from sunlight. As sunlight reaches the deepest part of the ocean, all the colors will be lost except blue. The red color will disappear first at the top 200 meters. After that, the yellow color will start to disappear. And as we go deeper in the water column, blue color will be the most dominant color. So everything will look blue. And as you go deeper, things will look even more blue. When you get deep enough, where there's no sunlight, everything will look black.
Those are some great questions. Thank you, scientists, for sharing your under-the-sea knowledge and findings from the Red Sea. I'm feeling so inspired. I can't wait to grab some art tools and start creating. Today, I'm going to create a coral reef inspired by the one we just saw in the Red Sea. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of block out my area where I would like the coral to fall on the page. So I'm lightly sketching this in here just at the bottom portion of my page, just as a guide for me as I do this drawing. I'm going to go ahead and start sketching some various types of fish here in this piece. And I invite you to do the same as you think about this. Think about the various types of fish that will be in your underwater landscape. And after I draw these in, I'm going to go back with crayon over top of this here. And this will be sort of a crayon resist. And as you're sketching this in, think about the various colors, you know, underwater. These fish are very colorful, and we want to ensure that we represent that here in this piece. I have a few here. I'm just going to have a few other fish kind of floating here in the background, just small sort of shapes that will be representative there. You won't quite see all of the details, but I'm just adding that as some additional details to show spatial depth, right? As we get further away, things look a bit smaller. So I'm just kind of adding little shapes here in the background that I'm going to color in. So next we have some details that's represented. I'll sketch those in lightly. All right, so now I'm going to go back with the crayon here. As you're applying crayon here, you want to color, press down very hard, because as we do the crayon resist technique, you need to make sure you apply this crayon fairly thick on the page, because we're going to go back over top here with the paint, and we want to make sure that we have enough crayon here to be able to resist that. This particular fish is yellow and white. So I'm going to get this colored in. Notice that again, I'm pressing down fairly hard here to make sure when I go back over top with the water and the blue paint that it will be able to resist. All right, I'm going to go back with the blue here and get this part colored in. The bottom portion of my fish here. Again, I want to make sure I color this in nice and solid. Go back in and with a much darker blue. Gosh, don't you just love the beautiful colors under the sea? I love it. All right, I'm gonna add a little circle here for the eye. I'm gonna go back, add a circle here. This one here has a black dot. I'm gonna add a dot here, and actually I need to go back and make sure I know that this is white, but I need to color this in with white to make sure, again, when I go back with the paint, that the paint will not go inside of these areas. So I need to make certain that I color this in nice and solid. That paint, I'm gonna just throw some other colors here in the background just to add some interest. We don't see exactly what types of fish these are because they're so far in the back. But I think this could be interesting just to add some additional color and detail here in our background. Okay, now that we have gathered the fish here in our foreground, meaning they're close to us, the ones in the background is a bit further away. Now we're going to go back and add in our water. Now, in my part of the Red Sea, it's daytime. Remember, I had a question for you. You're going to decide if this is day or nighttime. In mine, it's going to be day. So what I'm going to do is dip my brush here in the water, paint water with watercolor, remember, or any paint. The more water you add to it, the lighter the color will be. The less water you add, the darker the color will be. So what we're going to do here is just go in a left to right motion here. Isn't that a beautiful blue? And notice what's happening here, right? Remember, this is crayon resist. So as I'm going over top, everything that has crayon will resist the paint, the water here. So again, I'm going over top, adding in my water. In my scene, it's daytime, so I don't need to add too darker blues here because the sun is penetrating our water. So I'm going to keep it fairly light, at least at the top. Now, as I get closer to the bottom, I can use more paint, less water, and notice what happens. Whoa, you see that? It's much darker here, meaning the less water you use, the darker the paint. So as I get a little further down, I'm going to have this just a little bit darker because this part of the sea is getting a bit further away from the light. Okay, so we have our nice underwater scene here. And what I want to do next is I'm going to go in and add in some corals off to the side so we can see that landscape that's represented. So I have my paint here that I'm going to go back. So this first underwater scene here, what we started with was, remember, we started with crayon and then we added some watercolor blue. Now our corals will actually be our Crayola project paint, where we're going to go back. Now this paint is a bit thicker than our watercolor paint. So I'm just going to take my sponge. I have various types of sponges here that you can see with different types of texture. So I'm going to just begin to dip this here in the paint. And then I will apply this to the paper. And notice the different types of textures that will come as a result of the paint. Now remember, I planned it out. I wanted my coral to kind of run at the bottom part of the page. So I'll continue to do that. You can turn the sponge around. So I have this here on this side. Actually, let's see what happens if we start to blend the colors, what will happen. And then with the sponge, the paint is able to be applied a bit thicker. So we have that. I'll flip the sponge over and I'll start to add some yellow here. And again, I'm just adding different colors, different shapes, different textures. Look how bold and bright these colors are. So this about completes this painting for now. I will let this dry and go back in and add additional details. But I look forward to seeing what you create for your underwater seascape.
Now it's your turn to create. Grab some paint, crayons, a sponge, and paper. Think about what type of underwater scene you want to create. Will you create a coral reef or illustrate the creatures that live in the Red Sea? Will your scene be in the daytime or at night? What colors will you use? While students are working on their art, I have a special message for teachers and parents. Let's build up this wave of colorful learning. You can receive ideas to your email box every month when you sign up to receive the Crayola Education free monthly e-newsletter. And be sure to follow OceanX on social media to learn more about their upcoming missions. Before we end our session today, the OceanX team has one last message for kids that have an interest in becoming a scientist and continuing their exploration of ocean life.
Hi everyone, it's Jen here again. We are so glad that you could join us here on Ocean Explorer for World Oceans Day and for you to wear both your artist hat and your science hat. Now, both science and art are closely related. They both require imagination, they both require what-if questions, and they are both lots of fun. As a scientist, I rely on both curiosity and creativity living and working here in the Red Sea. So I'm so glad you became part of my world today, and we hope that you keep exploring wherever you may be in the world.
We want to thank OceanX for inspiring us today and for all the work their team is doing to help us understand the wonders under the water through ocean exploration.
Special thanks to the National Center for Wildlife of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who is supporting the incredible work that OceanX is doing in the Red Sea. And we want to thank all of you, the future ocean explorers out there, for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Keep exploring.